Welcome back to the Mike and Andrew Show. I'm Andrew Sorek here again with Mike Meredith. Mike, we had a very interesting draft this year. Obviously, draft weekend um, was quite literally big. We had they set a record for attendance, over 770,000 people attending the draft there at Detroit. I know you and Ian were there as well. So, a lot of people that I knew were there as well. But how was it this weekend being there at the draft, and how you doing this evening, man?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I think they underballed that number because I think they're just accounting for people who got actually into the event. If you're talking like just people on the outskirts that didn't get in that were waiting, over 1 million people, bro. Had to have been over the course of the weekend. Uh, I don't even know if me and Ian got counted on that total because what happened was we got there around like right before 6 o'clock and the draft had already reached capacity where they couldn't let anyone else in. So anytime you try to go, they just funnel you back out. So it was still a really good time. We were standing like right outside. They had a big screen and a whole bunch of people. So it was still pretty similar. We couldn't really see the stage, but it was still, gathering around a whole bunch of people, and we got to all see each other's reactions and react to the picks as they were coming through. But yeah, it was still a good time. We got a good walk in. We parked at Wayne State and just walked down there. But yeah, the city was bumping, man. The city was going crazy. It was awesome to see.
Yeah, I mean it looked good. I mean they made Detroit look very very good. And coming from this, I didn't hear who it could have been, the NHL, the NBA, but it sounds like an All Star game might be coming to Detroit very very soon because uh, of the fans coming out and making themselves look really really good. And the best thing of all is there's no reports of any violence, injuries, anything like that. So everyone looked very very good. Everyone was able to stay safe as well, and it just made the city look really really good. And yeah, so anyways, let's get into a round one review here. So I did some math here, and we got a combined total of three or five players that we actually matched to the correct team. I got three of those, and um, you got two. If you want to count Caleb Williams, you also got three then at that
Yeah.
point. But we all kind of knew Caleb Williams was going to Chicago, so I don't know if you really want to count that. In terms of getting the correct position to the correct team, so basically just same position, just a different player. I got eight of those correct, and you got five of those correct, giving us a total of 13. And that is counting those five players that we actually landed at the correct team as well. So um, overall, I'd say that's not bad considering mock drafts are never ever accurate. So not bad from us in terms of guessing. But let's go over the draft here. We'll kind of fire through these quick, and then we'll kind of have uh, winners and losers of not just the first night, but all three nights. And then from there, we'll kind of go with a couple of grades. But we'll kind of grade these picks each and go from there. So obviously, number one, of course, Caleb Williams to Chicago. We all saw that coming. It's a good fit, I think. Still, any of those three quarterbacks, I think, would have been a good fit in Chicago. The question is can Chicago finally get over that herd and develop their quarterback to be, um, an actual NFL quarterback?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I have faith in Caleb Williams. Do I think he's going to be this next superstar? I don't know if I can see that, but I could see like a top 10 guy. I think that he has the potential. Again, it's just all about development. They got him a receiver in this draft as well, which was which was nice. Their receiving core is going to be really good moving forward here.
Yeah, and we'll get to that pick, of course. But yeah, it's just can he make that next step again? I don't think he was the best quarterback in this draft class. I think the guy who went number three is, but we'll talk about that when we get there. Number two, I had Washington taking Drake May. They took Jaden Daniels. Um, Not a bad pick. Jaden Daniels is a very good quarterback, although he is a big stat patter, and we talked about this on Thursday's episode or Wednesday's episode last week. Sorry. Um, you know, he says he wants to become like a better version of Lamar Jackson or Michael Vick. Problem with that, he doesn't have near the size that either of those two players have. I mean, he's gonna get murdered if he tries to play like Michael Vick or Lamar Jackson plays currently, just because he doesn't have near the size that Lamar Jackson does, and I don't think he's going to necessarily get that way because he is a little bit shorter than Lamar, but he just doesn't have the frame and doesn't have that muscle mass that Lamar has. To be able to continuously take big hits like that and keep going like Lamar does. I don't think Jaden Daniels has that sort of potential in him. Do I think he's going to be a good quarterback in the NFL? Absolutely. Problem though still is Washington still doesn't have an offensive line.
Yeah. Yeah, I know we kind of went back and forth on this. I know that you wanted them to take Drake May. You thought Drake May was the better prospect. I kept saying that how while Drake May was probably the better prospect, it was looking more and more as the got closer to the draft that Washington was kind of solidified taking Jaden Daniels at two. But I think he's going to be good. Again, do I really think that he's going to be this next big thing? Do I am I putting all my stock into him? No. But would I love to see him succeed? Absolutely. But yeah, just getting that line fixed in Washington's got to be the next priority.
Yeah, it's his development. I think is going to be critical to how Washington goes in the future. But they still need to find protection for him, and um, they were able to address that in later rounds, but not with the best players that they could have. Um, so yeah, but anyway, so at number three here, and this is where we knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, New England, yes, they need a quarterback, but right now, I don't think drafting a quarterback was the greatest idea. But New England took, of course, Drake May, in my opinion, the best quarterback in this draft class. He still lacks, things in some areas, but I think just in total, what he does, what he brings, I think he's the best quarterback in this class. That said, I think New England probably should have just traded down. Um, I know Kraft wanted a quarterback, and that is why they drafted one. But if I'm being honest with you, I would have fucking traded down if I was New England and gotten some weapons, so that way you can get a quarterback potentially. Trade down to, like, because I know the Giants were offering a pick. Um, you know, take some of that draft capital and then move back up into the first round and go and take yourself a weapon or an offensive tackle or something that there's plenty of in this draft. But no, New England takes Drake May. Not a bad pick, but honestly, if I was New England, I wouldn't have taken that pick right away.
I actually like this pick. I know that they need help everywhere else, but the rest of their draft, they took like I think it was five or six of their seven picks were offensive players. So they decided to go all out offensive in this draft, and they get locked down Drake May at quarterback. They grabbed some receivers. I think they might have grabbed some guys on the offensive line. Got a new head coach. It's going to be a defensive head coach. New England's always been kind of known for defense, but if Drake May can get someone that can work with him really good on offense, then he can develop into something great there. We'll see though.
Yeah, we'll just have to see. Again, if I was New England, I still would have moved down, but it just seemed before the draft we knew New England was not trading out of that spot, despite a lot of people saying that they should. So number 4, I had Minnesota moving up to take J.J. McCarthy, and while Minnesota did take J.J. McCarthy in this drive and move up, that isn't what happened. Arizona went ahead and they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. That's going to be a huge boost to their offense. I think Arizona did a very, very, very good job here taking Marvin Harrison, best wide receiver in this class by a fucking mile. And yeah, very good pick. Kyler Murray has a new toy he can actually throw to now and reliably throw to now, considering that Arizona had no options for Kyler to throw to. This was a great, great pickup here for Arizona.
Yeah, this was great. This might be like the pick of the draft because it's like you get possibly the best prospect in the draft. I know a lot of people were saying Caleb, but I think Marvin Harrison is probably just the best football player in this draft. Uh, and we'll get to Brock Bowers as well, but Marvin Harrison, bro, so good. Uh, he can do so much for you. He's going to be a number one receiver day one there in Arizona. Get Kyler some help. Now I do need more help with the rest of that team, and I did have another first round pick, but this was a step in the right direction.
Yeah, this was a big step in the right direction, and yeah, just I think I think Arizona, quite honestly, won night one of the NFL draft because of this pick. Now, if any other team would have picked Brock Bowers, I probably would have said they won. But we'll get there when we get there, and I'll explain myself there. But at number 5, I had the you had the LA Chargers taking Marvin Harrison Jr. due to the trade up from Minnesota that we had, but that didn't happen. But the Chargers went ahead and they took the best offensive lineman in this draft, full of really, really good offensive linemen, and they took Joe Alt. This was a Jim Harbaugh pick for all intents and purposes. We know Jim Harbaugh likes to run the ball, and he likes his big, big offensive tackles. And that's what he got with Joe Alt. Joe Alt's a great run blocker. He's also great in pass protection, but he's a big, big boy. The best offensive tackle. It was best player available for the Chargers, and it fit a need as well. So great, great job here by LA.
Yeah, this is a great pick, man. Uh, I was reacting right away. I'm like, bro, let's go. We got Joe Alt because with Marvin Harrison, I think he was the best pick. They had Joe Alt going to Tennessee in like every mock draft. I think that some people maybe had J.C. Latham higher, or that the Chargers would trade back and get more picks. But I found that there was a graphic that I saw on Instagram I wanted to bring up about this. It was, what do the Chargers do? Because it was a pick of Justin Herbert, and it was if they got someone like Joel, him protected, but then he throws it down to Quentin Johnson, and then he just drops the ball. Or do you draft Malik Neighbors, and Herbert's got someone to throw to, but doesn't even have enough time to throw it because his offensive line is giving it up. But Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater on that line, dude. Herbert's protected now. Just get him some weapons. That's all he needs. He needs some receivers, and Chargers will be in business.
Oh yeah, the Chargers are definitely going to be in business. The problem is I think since Jim Harbaugh's there, they're going to be running the ball a lot more than Herbert would like. But anyways, great, great pick here from the Chargers. Now here is the next pick that we got the exact player right, and this was the first one of mine that I got exactly right, matching player to team, and that was the New York Giants taking Malik Neighbors. Second best wide receiver in this draft. Giants need weapons. They went out and they got themselves the best weapon that was available, best player that was available at that time. It's kind of interesting because a lot of people thought maybe the Giants would go ahead, especially after Minnesota didn't move up like everyone was expecting to go and take a quarterback. Everyone was thinking maybe the Giants will take a quarterback here because Daniel Jones is garbage and he's also in a neck brace anyways. So why not take a quarterback, take a chance on taking like a guy like J.J. McCarthy? But they didn't. They took Malik Neighbors, and that is a fine pick. I think the Giants did a great job here with this pick. They got Daniel Jones a weapon to throw to. And they also addressed some other needs later in the draft as well. So I think, yeah, this was a great pick for the New York Giants overall.
Yeah, this was a great pick. I really loved Malik Neighbors here. Like Marv is the best receiver in the class, but Malik Neighbors, I don't think is too far behind. He's got so much talent, and while the Giants still need help at quarterback, I don't think they really love J.J. McCarthy or Bo Nix or Michael Penix, who we'll get to, but just locking down that receiver, you can go make some moves to get a QB. I mean, they're probably not going to be contenders anyways next year, so continue to build that young core up. And Malik Neighbors, man, I think he's going to be a stud receiver, man. He could be the next Odell Beckham out in New York.
Yeah, he very much could be, and I mean that's what he comps to a lot is Odell Beckham. So, yeah, great pick here for the Giants. And number 7, you had Tennessee taking Joe Alton, just like a lot of other mock drafts did. Um, that said, the Titans, because Joe Alt was off the board, they did take an offensive tackle. They took the second best, and that was J.C. Latham. Tennessee desperately needed offensive line. I think that was a very clear need, and every single mock draft had Tennessee either taking Joe Alt or J.C. Latham, and here we are with J.C. Latham. So there's one of the positionally correct picks that we got, just not the correct, player. But no, all the way around, I think this was a great pick for Tennessee. And yeah, they're gonna love having J.C. Latham there.
Yeah, that was a good pick for him. Definitely needed offensive lineman. They could have gone J.C. Latham. They could have gone Fashanu. Uh, but yeah, I think that's a really good pick for him. And Tennessee, again, with Will Levis at quarterback, if he's still going to figure it out. And then they signed Tony Pollard. They got L'Jarius Sneed. They're kind of building that defense up, but they're still rebuilding. So definitely get someone who can be on that line for many years.
Yeah, J.C. Latham. I mean, he is almost as good as Joe Alt. So I mean, it's basically it's a second place prize, but it's damn near like winning the first place prize because of just how good J.C. Latham is and what he can bring Tennessee on that offensive line. So moving on to number 8 here, and this is where the draft really, really, really
Yeah.
got interesting. And I saw Twitter and I saw Atlanta fans having complete meltdowns, and I don't blame them. Their franchise is completely not serious with this pick. I had, of course, Atlanta taking Dallas Turner, get themselves some more help on that edge, on that pass rush, but they went ahead and they did probably the most stupid fucking pick in draft history, or at least in recent draft history, and that's take Michael Penix Jr. from Washington. Um, why? You just paid Kirk Cousins a big contract for I think what 4 or 5 years, $100 million guaranteed of that, and you're gonna put the quarterback that is the most pro, and you're gonna pick the most pro-ready quarterback in this entire draft, in terms of just age and experience out there. For what? To sit behind Kirk Cousins? By the time Kirk Cousins is done with his contract,
Maybe
he'll be 30. At that point, he'll be past his prime age. So it's like, why? You just put yourself, if he becomes a starter, you just put yourself at a big disadvantage, cap wise, because you just guaranteed Kirk Cousins $100 million on his next contract. This made no sense. Atlanta fans were pissed off, rightly so. Saints fans and Tampa fans were absolutely dunking on them, and I even saw Carolina fans saying, "I thought we were the joke of our division." And well, I don't think Carolina's the joke of their division anymore. I think that crown completely belongs to Atlanta now because of this very, very fucking stupid ass pick.
Dog, when this was announced live, me and Ian and all the other people around us were like, "Bro, what the fuck, bro?" Like everyone was just in shock. Like the rest of the draft will go through it. There was not really anything else that shocking. Like, I mean, teams moved up and down. It was cool to see, especially with the Lions moving up, which we'll get to. But um, this was like the oh my god moment that like everyone was going through. I know we were sending each other memes back and forth on this while the draft was going. I saw a video of the GM trying to explain to the owner like what his thought process was on the pick, and Kirk Cousins didn't even know about it until the pick was already made. And then the GM saying that Penix could sit for 4 to 5 years behind Cousins. Like, bro, he's already like almost 25 years old. Like, do you want this man to sit till he's 30? Like, ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
should use that pick on the actual good player. Like,
Right.
I'm not saying that Penix isn't good, but it's like now's not the time to take a QB.
No, and that's the thing, right? Is like they have other things that they need to fill, mostly on that offensive line, but you could also look defensive line for them. I mean, their secondaries in really really good shape. So, but to take an eighth overall pick and waste it on a player that you are not going to have play for 4 to 5 years, and by the time he's playing, he will be almost 30. It's stupid. It is completely stupid. If you were Atlanta, you should definitely have been taking J.J. McCarthy if that was your fucking plan, because J.J. is the kind of player that you want to take and develop behind a veteran quarterback for a long time. Not fucking Michael Penix, who will be 30 by the time he's playing. Absolutely ridiculous pick. I don't know what Atlanta's doing, but man, if I was the owner of Atlanta, I would have fucking fired him. I would have fucking fired my GM night one. That is
Dog,
unacceptable.
I think he was about to, man. I mean, just from the if you look up the video, man, Arthur Blank was just like I said, GM literally had to explain like, yo, what are you doing? Like, what is going on here?
Yeah, absolutely ridiculous. Probably the biggest loser of night one was Atlanta because it was just a mindless pick. Um, Anyways, so at number 9, you had Chicago taking Roma Dunze to help Caleb Williams, give him a weapon to throw to. And this was your second player that you got correct to the correct team. Um, yeah, they take Roma Dunze, of course, third best receiver in this class. Doesn't have necessarily the tools that Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors do, but he has the speed and he has ability to find himself wide open. He has great vision when tracking the ball. So yeah, very good pick here for Chicago. Personally, I would have taken offensive tackle here to protect your investment because Caleb Williams will probably get killed in the NFL if he's not careful and plays hero ball like he did at USC. Um, the Bears still need offensive line protection for him, but giving Caleb Williams at least a weapon to throw to and a weapon that can get himself open quickly, not a bad pick at all here for Chicago.
Yeah, glad I hit on this one. Yeah, I think they could have won offensive line. They drafted Paris Johnson last year, so I guess they kind of have faith in him that he'll pan out as a tackle. I think they needed receiving help too. I know that they had DJ Moore. They just signed or traded for Keenan Allen, and now they got Rome Odunze. Their receiving core is locked up. They don't need to touch that for a minute. So they can make some trades for some offensive linemen or in the next draft build on that. I think that Chicago though that receiving core is going to be a big threat.
Absolutely here. So I'm gonna try to speed through this a little bit quicker. We're already about 23 minutes in, so we'll just try to speed through this a little bit quicker. But this will be a longer episode, anyways, regardless. But so yeah, the New York Jets. We projected them to take J.C. Latham, but Minnesota traded up just one spot to go ahead and take J.J. McCarthy. So I did have in our mock draft Minnesota moving up to take him. They just did not move up as far to take J.J. McCarthy. So wrong pick, correct player, correct position to the correct team. So that's good. my question with Minnesota taking JJ though is he's got to be a day one starter. If not, you're gonna have him learn from Sam fucking Darnold. That ain't gonna be sustainable.
Nah. Yeah, we'll have to see how JJ does. Yeah, so they really didn't have to move up. They moved up. I mean, the Jets weren't going to take him, so they just had to have been fearful that another team was going to trade up and get him because I don't see any other reason to trade up one spot. So they get JJ. They didn't have to move up a crazy amount because, yeah, they moved up to number 4. They would have had to have given up a lot bigger of a haul. So good on Minnesota, I guess, doing their scouting report and not moving way up in the draft.
Yeah, good on them. Good pick. I think JJ has to be starter day one. You're not gonna have him learn any. He won't learn anything good from Sam Darnold. So he's got to be starter day one. Here at 11, then we obviously had Arizona taking Brock Bowers. That was what you picked. That didn't pan out because obviously the Jets moved back to 11 instead, where they took Olu Fashanu. Third best offensive tackle in this draft class, in my opinion. They desperately need help on the offensive line, as we saw last year, especially with Aaron Rodgers getting murdered in Game 1. So, yeah, very good pick here for the Jets.
Yeah, W pick for the Jets, getting offensive line help to help Aaron Rodgers. Definitely need to bolster that up. I feel like their defense is pretty fine. I could have seen them take Brock Bowers, and people that we were with were like, this should be Brock Bowers, but I'm not mad at them taking an offensive lineman.
No, and every mock draft had them taking some sort of offensive lineman. In our mock draft, I had them take J.C. Latham. He was off the board, so they got the next best offensive tackle available, and I'm not mad at that pick at all. So moving on to number 12, we had Denver taking Michael Penix Jr. They actually ended up taking Bo Nix. So yeah, not a bad pick. I knew Denver was going to be taking a quarterback. I thought for sure it'd be Penix, but once I saw Atlanta do the very stupid thing that they did, I was like, well, that's going to be Bo Nix at Denver, and sure enough, it was. Very good pick. Again, he's pro ready, just like Penix is. I think he's a little bit better than Penix in my honest opinion, but Penix has that clutch factor that Bo Nix doesn't have, so I think that is probably why people had Penix higher up on their draft draft boards than Bo Nix, but I think Bo Nix overall is the better quarterback.
Yeah, I'm not too high on Bo Nix. I personally prefer Penix, but again, with Penix situation, it's looking rough. Man, Broncos country, let's ride Milfs, man, because you got Zach Wilson, and now you got Bo Nix.
He said, Broncos country, let's ride MILFs. I'm dead. I'm dead. So yeah, so then next we had Las Vegas. You had them drafting Olu Fashanu. Obviously Fashanu was taken ahead of them, so they went ahead and they drafted who I think is the best overall football player in this draft in Brock Bowers. But because of why I say Arizona won the draft is because I thought whoever was going to take Bowers would win the draft, but considering that Vegas took a tight end in the first round last year, and now they're doing it again, it makes no sense. I think Las Vegas is huge losers in this draft, especially on night one, because they took another tight end. Yes, it's probably the greatest tight end that we will see in a very, very long time, but yeah, this was a questionable pick. Good pickup in general, but just questionable pick for Las Vegas.
Yeah, there was some other offensive linemen they could have taken at this point, but I'm not mad at them taking Brock Bowers. I mean, I know that they could have used help more on the offensive line, and they've taken a lot of tight ends in the past, but man, you can't pass up on Brock Bowers when you can get him at 13.
Yeah, he's a great player. I think he'll do great in Vegas. I just don't know why Vegas went ahead and took another tight end, in the first round, a second year in a row. It just didn't make total sense to me. And then here at number 14, this is where it is the last player that we matched to the correct team. And I had New Orleans taking Talisi Fuaga, and that's exactly what happened. Best offensive tackle available at this point. New Orleans needs help on that offensive line, and they went ahead and they grabbed the best, I think, best available player at this point outside of outside of Dallas Turner.
Yeah, really good pickup. Again, filling out that offensive line. I think it's a really good pick for him.
Very,
and all offense.
Very, very good. All offense. 14 players taken offensively in a row. Longest streak in NFL draft history there. And on top of that, it's the most offensive players drafted in the first round as well in the NFL draft. And, well, the NFL made tackling illegal this year, so you might as well be drafting offensive players only at this point. But number 15 here, you had the Colts taking Terrion Arnold. They did go defense, and this was the first defensive player taken off the board, but they took edge rusher from UCLA, Latu. A lot of questions, regarding his neck, but Indianapolis felt comfortable with his medicals, and their team doctors saying, hey, he can still be fine. He can still be a very, very good NFL player. The neck injury is still, questionable because, he was being told he should probably just medically retire in college because of this neck injury, but he still continued to play and prove the doctors wrong, and Indy believes that their medical team's got this one right and trust them, so they take one of the best edge rushers in this class. But I'm surprised it wasn't Dallas Turner.
Yeah, I was really shocked that it wasn't Dallas Turner. Again, I keep bringing up my experiences at the draft, but one of the guys that we were with, he was saying since Atlanta's pick, like Dallas Turner's going to go off, and it's like, no, now Dallas Turner's going to go, and like we were just like, wow, Dallas Turner is falling, bro. And I thought this is where he was going to get picked, but Latu got picked instead. Still think Latu is a really great pick. Good edge rusher out of UCLA, but yeah, just Dallas Turner falling this far, crazy.
Yeah, it was very, very weird. I thought Dallas Turner would be the first defensive player off the board just because of how dominant he is, but he didn't fall all too far, but he did fall to the third defensive player drafted here, and we had a small run of defensive players taken here. Number 16, I had Seattle taking Troy Fautanu. They went defensive tackle instead of offensive tackle, and they took Byron Murphy. Really good defensive tackle. I think best defensive tackle in this draft. I'd say probably third best defensive lineman in this draft. Where I'd rank him, defensive player wise, I don't really know because you got a lot of different corners that you could throw in there in that top five. So very, very tough. But yeah, very good pick here for Seattle. They do need help. They need help on both, offensive and defensive lines. They think Byron Murphy can help that defense or help the team overall more, and they went ahead with him. So great pick, I think, here for Seattle.
Yeah, I think it was a really good pick. Byron Murphy is really great defensive tackle. Again, they could have gone offensive tackle as well, but a really good pickup. I think Byron Murphy is one of the better players in this draft.
Yeah, definitely here. So at number 17, you had Jacksonville taking Quinion Mitchell. Jacksonville traded down with Minnesota. Minnesota went ahead and they took Dallas Turner. Just when we thought Minnesota was going to be cooked defensively because they just let go of Danielle Hunter, they get his immediate replacement and potentially a better player than Danielle Hunter with Dallas Turner, best edge rusher in this draft class. And yeah, like I said, I think he has potential to be better than Danielle Hunter is, and Danielle Hunter is a very, very damn good edge rusher.
Yeah, that was a great pick. Dallas Turner was projected top 10 for a lot of people, and for him to fall to 17, you didn't have to do that much to get him. That was such um, a really good pick by Minnesota.
Yeah, very, very good pick here. So at number 18, I had Cincinnati taking Johnny Newton. I figured, well, they need help at the defensive tackle position. They thought they need more help offensive tackle position. They went and they took Amarius Mims from Georgia, of course. Dominant offensive tackle. I think definitely a top 5 offensive tackle in this draft class. And there are a ton of really great offensive tackles in this draft class, like we discussed leading up to the draft. Mims is very good. He's got that very, very long reach, which is helpful in pass protection. And so Cincinnati, yeah, they got some extra protection for Joe Burrow, and you can never, ever go wrong with that.
Yeah, can't go wrong. They need to protect Joe Burrow. He's been injured. He's been dealing with stuff. You gotta keep him protected, man. Because you see what happens when he's not out there, man. Their season just is a waste, and they can't keep wasting their seasons when they have this much talent already.
Yeah, no, they can't keep wasting time, especially on the offensive side of the ball, waiting for things to develop better. They went out, they got themselves the best offensive tackle that was available at the time, and one of the he was the best offensive player available, not the best player available, but definitely best offensive player available at this time. So at number 19, you got the position correct here. You had the Rams taking Laiatu Latu, but they went ahead and took edge rusher Jared Verse instead. He was the best edge rusher at the time. The Rams needed help there because they just had Aaron Donald retire. So, yeah, great pick here for the Rams. And this is one of the reasons why I think the Rams are one of those teams, kind of like a Pittsburgh or a Philadelphia or a Dallas, that they will continue to be in the playoffs just because they draft good players every single year in the draft.
Yeah, that was a really good pickup, man. Jared Verse again, another elite edge rusher in this draft, and another really good pick by the Rams.
Very, very good pick here. So at number 20, I had Pittsburgh taking Amarius Mims. They did go offensive tackle, but obviously Mims was off the board, so they took Troy Fatanu, who I thought would be off the board earlier than this. Obviously, I thought Seattle would take him, but very, very good pickup here. Fatanu, great offensive tackle. He can do a lot of the things that Pittsburgh is going to ask of him. He can run block very well. He can pass pro very well. Such a talented offensive line draft class this year. I mean, this is I think personally the best offensive line draft that we've had in over a decade. Some were even saying that this was the best offensive line draft in NFL history, which is it's debatable, but yes, very, very good. But yes, overall, great pick for Pittsburgh. Helps protect whoever's going to be at quarterback there. And yeah, protection for Russell or what's his fucking name? Justin Fields.
Yeah, I didn't see all of Pittsburgh's picks, but I know that they were projected as like a top 5 team, that like top 5 draft. They had like a top 5 draft. So yeah, great pickup here, getting another offensive lineman and just building what they can throughout the draft. Pittsburgh's still trying to stay relevant, so we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and this is where we kind of went on a run here with four positions correct, just wrong player to that team. Um, that was 3 in a row for us. This is where this will be number 3 for us. Here is Miami. You had them selecting Byron Murphy, great defensive tackle there. They didn't go with Byron Murphy. Obviously, he was off the board at this point. They went ahead and they took Chop Robinson. Chop Robinson, I think personally the best defensive tackle in this draft. You can make the argument obviously for Byron Murphy. I just think Chop Robinson offers a little bit more. Granted, I did watch him a bit more than I did Byron Murphy just because obviously he played for Penn State. But no, Chop offers Miami great help on that defensive front that they desperately needed. Teams were running them over up front all year long, and it addresses a huge need for them.
Yeah, I know we were kind of like yeah, how do we leave Chop Robinson off of our mock draft? And you see why. I mean, he went crazy. Um, he's a really good edge or interior lineman wherever they want to kind of slot him in at. Chop Robinson, man, really good pickup.
Yeah, very, very good pickup indeed here, and this is where the last for a little while of players where we got the correct position, just the wrong player here. I had Philly taking Cooper DeJean here. They ended up taking Quinion Mitchell, who still I don't think was the best corner in the draft, and we will talk about who actually took the best corner in the draft here very shortly. Um, but yeah, no, I think Quinion Mitchell, great pickup here for Philly. And this is why, again, I think Philly is always just in the playoffs, is because they keep drafting the best player that they think is available at the time. Granted, I don't think Quinion Mitchell was the best player available defensively. Obviously, I think Terrion Arnold was, but we'll get there when we get there in a couple picks here. But no, great, still a great pickup for Philly.
Yeah, I think Quinion Mitchell was great. Again, I think we both had Terry and Arnold as the first corner off the board in our mocks, so uh, still a really good pick. And again, uh, Eagles fans always seem to just have really good drafts. Like they gave the Eagles an A+. They took another corner in the second round, Cooper DeJean. Um, they always like to take the guys that are just very popular. I feel like they took Jalen Carter when he fell. They took Jordan Davis. They like the Georgia guys. Um, this year again, they just went with guys who were falling. Got the DBs. Can't stand Eagles. Can't really stand Eagles fans at all. But it was a good pickup for them.
Yeah, overall a great pickup for them. Um, and like I said, this is why I hate Philly, but this is why they keep having successful regular seasons, is because they just pick up great players every single year. And so yeah, so here at number 23, obviously we had Arizona in that trade taking Jared Verse, but that obviously didn't happen. But what did happen was Jacksonville. They traded that pick that Minnesota had, or that Minnesota gave them. Um, we had Jacksonville earlier taking Quinion Mitchell, but they went offense instead. They took Brian Thomas Jr., really good wide receiver, best wide receiver available at this point. Um, so yeah, a good pick for Jacksonville. They need weapons. Uh, you know, um, I mean, they have no one to throw to. I mean, they have a good running offense, but they don't have that any receivers for Trevor Lawrence to throw to. This gives Jacksonville a great, um, wide receiver, great weapon for Lawrence to work with finally.
Yeah, they give him a good receiver here. They actually just released Zay Jones after this draft, so I guess that kind of says the direction they want to go. They want to go with this new kind of group of receivers. I think that Jacksonville's trying to build a nice core here for Trevor Lawrence, and we'll see how they do.
That we will. So at number 24, I had the Giants trading back into the first round with Dallas to take Bo Nix. Obviously, this did not happen. However, Dallas did not pick at number 24. It was the Detroit Lions, and the crowd went fucking nuts when that happened. I know you guys were hype as hell, talking to the group chat. But Detroit, they went ahead and they drafted the best corner in this entire draft class with Terrion Arnold. Um, Obviously, the best corner coming out of Bama this year. I know Kool-Aid was out there because his name's Kool-Aid, so he's kind of cool. Everyone wants him because he's got a cool name. But he, they take the better of the Alabama cornerbacks. And man, Philly loves their Georgia players. Brad Holmes, he loves his Alabama players. A lot of Alabama players on this Lions team now. So yeah, Detroit A+ pick here.
For real. Yeah, when we made that trade, we were all going crazy. and then Terry and Arnold, great. We needed a corner, and he was a great pickup. Brad Holmes loves the Bama kids. Jameer Gibbs, JMO, Ian Branch. Like the list just goes on and on and on. Loves those Bama kids. Terry and Arnold, another one. I know people were saying we could have picked Kool Aid McKinstry here. I love Kool Aid. I think that would have been a great pick as well. But Terry and Arnold was just the better prospect, in my opinion. And when he falls, when he was going projected around top 15, he would get it at 24. That's a really good pickup.
Yeah, great pickup. It's gonna be weird to see what happens next year because I think most of it is just that Brad Holmes like Saban players. So without Saban there at Bama, where's Brad Holmes gonna start picking his guys from? That's the new question now. Unless Bama can continue to develop players that he likes. But I think I have it down to a science on taking exactly or on picking up who exactly Brad Holmes will actually pick up. It's highest RAS score, every single first round pick that he's had, highest RAS score, and he went to their pro day. So I think that's kind of just like who is Brad Holmes going to pick? It's probably going to be that guy if that guy falls to him. So at number 25 here, we had Green Bay taking Nate Wiggins. They went offensive tackle instead, and they took Jordan Morgan. Good offensive tackle. He's a little bit of a project. Footwork, I believe, is the one thing that they talked about that he needs to kind of work on. Good pick still. Adds protection to Jordan Love. You can't go wrong with protecting your quarterback, like I've said.
Yeah, offensive tackle. Um, Again, just trying to build up that line for Jordan Love. You can't really hit on an O line pick. I mean, at that point, you're just trying to build that wall that your quarterback can use to buy time and find what he needs. I mean, they got a ton of great receiving weapons. They didn't need to draft a receiver. I was thinking DB. DB is definitely a premium position, but good way to build this lineup, get an offensive tackle.
Yeah, very, very good way for them to pick it up. So at number 26, I had Tampa Bay taking Kool-Aid McKinstry. Tampa needs help in that secondary badly, but they went ahead instead and took an offensive lineman. They took Graham Barton. He could play guard and he could play center. And he could play both guard positions, so he's very interchangeable on the interior offensive line. Tampa definitely needed some help there. I think they have bigger needs, like in that secondary, like I said. But good pickup here for Tampa Bay regardless.
Yeah, another good pickup. We actually had Graham Barton going to the Lions in our mock draft, I remember, because we had the Lions staying at 29. And I think Graham Barton's a great pick, man. I think that he's a really solid offensive lineman. Like you said, he's so versatile. You can put him in a lot of different spots. So I think that's a really good pick for Tampa.
Yeah, I think it's a really great pickup. And yeah, we had the Lions taking Graham Barton at 29. But yeah, Graham Barton, best interior offensive lineman in this draft class, full of great exterior offensive linemen. So yeah. Number 27 here, we had Arizona taking Deshaun Newton. But they went ahead and they took Darius Robinson instead. Great edge rusher, best edge rusher at this point available. They went ahead, they took him, and yeah, I got no complaints. Arizona addressed needs on both sides of the ball in this draft.
Yeah, Arizona to me was one of the bigger winners of the draft. Two first round picks. You grab great receiver, great edge rusher, two premium positions. Really good draft for Arizona there.
Number 28, we had Buffalo taking Brian Thomas Jr. Buffalo didn't even make a pick in the first round. They traded number 28 to Kansas City. Why, of any team that you could have traded with, did you fucking trade with Kansas City? The team that you cannot beat in the playoffs. Kansas City went ahead and they took Xavier Worthy. So we got the right wide receiver at the right pick, just not at the right team. But we did get the correct team with the correct position. We had Kansas City taking A.D. Mitchell, but uh, we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But no, Kansas City takes Xavier Worthy, best wide receiver available at this point. I really like this kid. I think he has potential to be a Tyreek Hill. I mean, he has a ton of speed, and he has hands, which Kansas City desperately needs. But Buffalo, what are you doing, man? I think this was more Buffalo just saying we're gonna blow this whole thing up, and yeah, I just don't understand why Buffalo traded down with Kansas City of all teams.
Yep, another one. Casey takes that receiver that they need, and Buffalo continues to seem like they're going to rebuild.
Yeah, that they do. So at number 29, of course, we said earlier we had Detroit taking Graham Barton. It ended up obviously being Dallas's pick there, and Dallas went ahead and they took offensive tackle Tyler Guyton. Very good pickup here. Tons of talented offensive tackles. They of course take the best one that's available at this point. So yeah, Dallas, good pick. They needed some help with that offensive line. Jerry Jones kind of said that, yeah, we need to get some protection for Dak. And he went ahead and he made this pick for Dallas, and it's a very good pickup.
Yeah, I think that it was a good pickup. Get another offensive lineman there in Dallas. We'll see what they do. Probably still choke again, though.
Oh, they'll choke again because it's Dallas and it's Dak Prescott. I have no faith in Dak Prescott in the playoffs. At number 30, we had, of course, Baltimore taking Tyler Guyton, but Dallas just took him. But Baltimore went and they took Nate Wiggins, cornerback. Great pick. Baltimore. I mean, Wiggins is a Baltimore kind of guy. He will fit right in with that defensive scheme that Harbaugh absolutely loves and uses to his advantage. And yeah, I mean, this is a great pick for Baltimore. I thought maybe they would get Lamar some more help, but they went ahead and they bolstered up their defense with the best corner available at this point, and probably the third best corner in my opinion, maybe the fourth best, but taken here at 30, great pickup.
Yeah, this is a really good pickup. For some reason, people were kind of down on this pick or like saying, no, Nate Wiggins is not going to be that good. Like, nah, Nate Wiggins will be fine. That is a good pick. Bolster that secondary. They just got Derrick Henry, uh, Lamar. It's going to be a crazy, crazy team in Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore. I think they got better through this draft. And yeah, I saw a lot of people again saying, Nate Wiggins is not going to be that good. I think Nate Wiggins has a ton of potential to be a great corner in this league. He's got the speed, he's got the tools. So yeah, so at number 31, you had San Francisco taking Jackson Powers Johnson. They did go offense, but they didn't go offensive tackle or offensive line at all, which kind of shocked a lot of people. But they went ahead and they took a guy who didn't have a first-round grade, and they took Ricky Pearsall. I watched some Florida football this year, and Ricky Pearsall is incredible. I think the reason why he didn't have a first-round grade is because there was not a lot of film on him because Florida's passing attack was just god-awful this year. But when Ricky Pearsall had the ball thrown to him, he would go up and he would get it almost every single time. I remember watching a game the first week of the season against Utah. He had a spectacular one-handed grab behind the back. Now, I know you can't take a whole lot from that just one play, but it just tells you the kind of skills that Ricky Pearsall has, the talent that he has. But I think this kind of spells the end for Brandon Aiyuk in San Francisco.
Yeah, I was super shocked when they took a receiver. That was another one that was like real shocking. Didn't see this one live. We had left by then. But yeah, a receiver. I was like, wow. Didn't see that coming from the 49ers. This guy, he was really known for that one hand catch. He made like a one hand catch and getting hit. That's really all I know on the guy though. like you said, just not much film. Um, but yeah, I just super shocked. 49ers want receiver.
Yeah, I think it spells the end for Brandon Ayuk there in San Francisco, just because they took a wide receiver, and look, I think Pearsall, if he had more film, if he was on a better team, I think he probably would have been a first round pick, or I think he would have been graded a first round pick. So I think San Francisco, they're one of those teams that are always in the playoffs. They have amazing scouts, and they see that potential in Ricky Pearsall, and I see it too. I think he can be a great wide receiver in this league. So I think, yeah, San Francisco did a great job here. And then lastly, so Buffalo traded out of the first round with this pick. They obviously traded number 32, or traded down to number 32 with Kansas City. But they traded out to get Carolina into the first round, and Carolina took wide receiver Xavier Legette. Um, a good pick for Carolina. Still, what the fuck is Buffalo doing? Yeah, they got some draft picks, but I still don't know what the fuck Buffalo's thinking here. Um, and then they messed up calling out Xavier Legette's name. I think he called him Leggetti or something like that. I don't know what he was thinking, but yeah, they fucked up his name. Carolina, good pickup though here. I think Xavier Legette was definitely a top 7, top 8 wide receiver in this draft class. I'm surprised they didn't go with A.D. Mitchell, but Carolina did something that GMs should never do, and tell players that if you're available, we're going to draft you, and make that kind of a public thing. But yeah, no, they went ahead. They promised Xavier Legette if he's available, they'll go and get him, and they did. So yeah, a good pickup for Carolina. Doesn't matter though, because your quarterback is not tall enough to ride any of the rides at Cedar Point. But yeah, good pickup here for Carolina still.
Yeah, good pickup. Actually, getting into the first round after having their number one pick go to Chicago because they got a guy who can't ride the rides at Cedar Point in last year's draft instead of just waiting to this year's draft and getting Caleb Williams. But yeah, I guess they got their guy. At least they actually had a first round pick.
Yeah, they gave up some draft capital to get it, but not a whole lot, of course, to Buffalo. But ultimately, yeah, just a questionable draft for Buffalo. I think they're one of the big losers of this draft class. But I have for you here a list of 4 winners and 4 losers of the draft overall. So let's get into it here. I think for biggest winner, I think, are the Colts. They addressed every single need that they have, and if Latu can be healthy and have a good career here, I think Indianapolis did a incredibly great job in the draft overall.
Yeah, I think they did. They hit on a lot of their other picks. That too was a great prospect. Getting him, he's the first defensive player off the board. While Dallas Turner was probably the better prospect, Liatu is by no means bad. Great player and great draft for the Colts.
Yeah, I think Colts overall, over the 3 days, best draft out of any team. I genuinely believe that they addressed every single need with the best player available at those needs. So, I mean, outside of Latu, obviously, I think Dallas Turner was the best edge rusher, but Latu second best. Regardless, still, you're getting a top 2 edge rusher there, but every single need that they addressed was addressed with the best player available at that time. So Indianapolis, overall, biggest winner. Biggest loser, Atlanta. We talked about it already. Most stupid pick I've ever seen in my lifetime of watching the NFL draft. And then they trade up also in the second round to pick up a guy that they could have easily had in the 4th round. Nobody expected this kid to go anywhere near the second and third rounds. What are they doing? What are they doing? I don't know what Atlanta's plan is, but yeah.
Yeah, that was just Maybe we'll be looking back in 2 or 3 years and we're like, yeah, we were stupid for calling Atlanta stupid, but at the time, right now, Atlanta is stupid.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of don't like doing grades and winners or losers, really, is because you don't really know till 2, 3 years down the line, anyways, right?
Hmm.
Like you can look now. The Lions won the draft when they drafted Aiden Hutchinson, best player that to come out of that draft class. So you look at it that way. Um, Another winner here, the Chargers. Joe Alt, he was a
Yeah.
safe pick, great pick. They got a really good running back from Troy, I think in the second or third round. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Corum, which is why I think Harbaugh is going to like this kid a lot. The Chargers addressed some good needs, but obviously they took the best offensive tackle available when they absolutely could. And yeah, Chargers big winners here, of course. Baltimore also, I think, are a winner here. I mean, they just draft good football players, plain and simple. As much as I hate the Ravens, it's just what they do. They just draft great players. They take Nate Wiggins. Another one here that I think is a really big winner in this draft are the Eagles. They addressed their corner needs in the first 2 rounds. They added picks for next year, and they didn't reach for any players this year as well. So I think Philadelphia did a great job here. Thoughts on those three winners that I just listed for you?
Yeah, I think that all of them are winners, especially the Eagles there. They always seem to end up, like I said, in these lists. Probably the past 2 or 3 years, Howie Roseman has somehow gotten these guys on the winners list for just getting picks that just seem to fall into their lap, that um, seem to fall like 5, 10 picks to them compared to their mock stock. So, yeah, I think for all these teams, super, super good draft.
Yeah, I mean Eagles. I'd probably put as the second best team in this draft, just in terms of what they were able to do, addressing needs, adding draft picks, and not reaching for anyone. Great draft for them. And then the other three losers that I have here is Dallas. One of them, they didn't get any weapons for Dak. Yes, they got him. They got Dak protection, but they still only have CeeDee Lamb to throw to. So it's kind of like what the fuck? What is Dak supposed to do? They addressed other needs, but their biggest need was weapons for Dak, and they didn't address that at all. Another loser here is San Francisco. Um, they didn't get any offensive line help. They did not draft any offensive linemen in the draft, and they desperately, desperately need that to insulate Brock Purdy, who I don't think is a good quarterback at all, but if he's going to be that quarterback for them, he needs protection, and they did not get him that protection that they needed. And they also need that offensive lineman to help them in the run game as well. That struggled, and as you saw in the Super Bowl, they struggled a ton to run the ball. They didn't get any help there, and then Carolina as well. They didn't get offensive linemen either in this draft. No help on that offensive line. They're total losers in this draft. Yes, they got a good wide receiver in Xavier Legette. Outside of that, no good picks for Carolina.
Yeah, a lot of these teams I feel like had decent first round picks, but then the rest of the draft just like kind of went downhill for them.
Yeah, they definitely had good, decent to good first round picks. I mean, I like Dallas's pick in the first round with Tyler Guyton, but outside of that pick, Dallas just didn't address any needs that they had, especially in, like I said, giving weapons to Dak, because he can't keep throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb 80 times a game and expect to win, especially in the playoffs. So yeah, but yeah, that is your draft review. Um, Thursday's episode, we're probably going to be looking at a review of most of the NHL, anyways, and NBA playoff first round matchups. We already have a couple series done with in each league. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for us, guys. Unless Mike, you got anything else you want to talk about here?
No, it's gonna be it. Just recapping all of the draft and winners and losers.
Yeah, and like I said, really, you can only draft winners and losers 2, 3 years after that draft. So we'll talk about this in 2027 perhaps. But anyways, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you want to see from us. Of course, like I said, we're going to talk about the NHL, NBA playoffs here on Thursday's episode. So yeah. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Thursday.